What is up, guys? Matthew here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit fun and something I've wanted to do for a while, and I thought now would be a better time than any because we've obviously got the brand new Boro kit. Both home and away have been released this season, so I thought I'd bring you guys two tier lists. One ranking every single Boro home kit of the Riverside era, and then doing exactly the same for the away kits. Now, the reason why I've kept this to just the Riverside era is because had we done every single Boro home kit ever, we'd be here all day. Plus, there are a lot of kits, obviously from the 80s and the 70s, which are a lot more basic, which I wasn't around for. I mean, I wasn't around for some of these either, but they're kits that were long before my time, and I don't really have any thoughts on, so as well as the video being too long, I also just feel like them kits are a little bit too far in the past for me personally, so I thought the Riverside era would be a good starting point, barring one. Barring this one, and you'll see why in a moment. So, this is the tier list that we've got. We've got 4 categories for all 31 Boro shirts to go into. We've got Chuck It in the Tees, which, well, yeah, it means it's a shirt I don't like, and I would literally, well, I wouldn't actually throw it in the tees. I wouldn't do that to any Boro shirt, but for the sake of the tier list, Chuck It in the Tees, not a good shirt. We then got Mid, literally, because I couldn't think of a name for a middle tier that's a bit of, I don't really have an opinion. It's not great, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just meh. I couldn't think of a name, and we're called Middlesbrough, so I thought, Mid. Tell I'm good with words, can't you? Above that, I've got In My Basket, so it's a Boro shirt that I would put in my basket, I'd buy it, think it's a nice shirt, and then the top tier is Hang It in the Mima. Now, if you're not from Middlesbrough, you won't have a clue what Mima is, but it's basically the Teesside version of the Louvre, in terms of it's got nothing in there that's anywhere near what's in the Louvre. I've been to the Louvre, there's a lot more nice stuff in the Louvre, but if Boro had a close equivalent to Hang It in the Louvre, it would be Hang It in the Mima, so that's why that's there. That's for the best shirts, the absolute goats, anyway. Let's get stuck in. So, we're going to start off with the first shirt, and of course this is from pre-Riverside era, this is from 94-95. Now, the reason why I've cheated and brought this shirt in is because 1, it's bloody beautiful, and 2, it was 1 year before, and I own it, so that's why I'm making an exception for this shirt, and you'll probably guess because of that, I'm hanging it in the Mima. This is an absolutely gorgeous shirt, a beautiful Boro shirt. Great colour, love the red, love the little pattern, the subtlety of the Boro badge sort of embroiled into the red, and the rest of it's really nice too. I think the blue on the collar and the sleeve, just enough, I think, to really make the shirt stand out, but the rest of it just gives off this very smart, clean, premium look. The Dickens sponsor also works extremely well, and the collar. I just love a shirt with a collar, and this is one done extremely well. So this shirt, there's an exception for this bad boy, and that's why I've got to hang it in the Mima. Next up, we've got 03-04. Now, this isn't one of the best looking shirts, but I'm also going to have a bit of bias towards some of these shirts because of what they mean to me. And of course, 03-04 was the season we won our first and only major trophy, being the Carling Cup. It's also my earliest memory of supporting Boro as a fan. My earliest memory was 03-04, back when I was 7 or 8 years old. So for me, it's a shirt that means a lot. So that's why it's going into the Mima. Obviously, it's a pretty basic shirt. I do quite like the collar. I love the open collar as well. I'm not a big fan of the white lines on it. They look a bit random, but everything else about this shirt just gives me a warm feeling inside. So that's why it's where it is. Next up, we've got 04-05. Now, this is another pretty nice Boro shirt. We've got the band for the first time here. This was the shirt straight after, of course, we won the League Cup, and this is where our really good spell started, of course, when we got into the UEFA Cup and started fighting for, well, that trophy in Europe, as we all remember fondly. So, yeah, another really nice shirt, another one with a really nice collar, very distinctive band, like the white on the end of the sleeves too. And the 88.com sponsors one I always liked on a Boro shirt. The black and the red just goes with the rest of the shirt really nicely. So it's not quite Mima, but it's definitely one that I would shove in my basket. This is when Boro started getting good. Next up in 05-06, we have the GOAT shirt. The absolute GOAT shirt. My favourite Boro shirt of all time for 2 reasons. I think firstly, again, the meaning of it. This was when Boro were at their best. This was when we got to the final of the UEFA Cup. This is when we almost won a European trophy. And of course, we had one of our best spells. We had some outstanding players, some of our best memories that you see photographed, you see immortalised, in Middlesbrough history, was in this shirt. Massimo Macaroni's 2 late winners against Basel and Stoja in the UEFA Cup quarters and semis. Some of them amazing European nights we had back in the mid-noughties. This shirt brings me nothing but glee. But as well as that, I really like the design of it. I love the uniqueness of the white band bleeding sort of into the sleeve, but then also down the side of the shirt. And what they also did was they carried that pattern down with the shorts. So from one side, it looked like one entire kit. Like sometimes the shirt and the shorts are distinct from one another, and a lot of the time for good reason. But this was so unique in the fact that the shirt and the shorts blended in together, and the black around the band, the black writing we had on the back, this looked so nice. It's such a nice shirt. I'd love us to do something similar with the band again in the future. So not only is it one of the best design shirts ever, it's also got some of the best memories too. Next up, we've got 06-07, the first Boro shirt my mum ever bought me. And this is going in my basket. It's another pretty nice Boro shirt. Again, 88.com. This was just a good era for Boro, let's be honest. And a little bit different with this shirt because there was a bit of gold either side of the band. Don't know if that's because we were hoping we would go on and win the European Cup, and that's why we would obviously have the UEFA Cup and we'd have a bit of gold on there to show we were winners, but unfortunately not the case. But again, another nice shirt. I like the fact the band was on the top of the sleeves this time. Again, a slight evolution on the 2 kits that come before it, but there was a very nice, a nice aesthetic consistency throughout this era of Boro shirts. One sort of carried over from the other. They weren't all too different, and I liked what they were doing in and around this time. So, yeah, another cracking Boro shirt, and another one that gives me good memories. Next up, we've got 07-08. Now, this is where things started to go, well, downhill, shall we say. We moved away from the band. 88.com was no more. The Boro badge changed. It was all change. And sadly for Boro on the pitch, it was when we started to go downhill. Now, this isn't an awful shirt. I'm going to put it in mid. There's not much to it, really. I do like the subtle pattern in the red. There's like kind of stripes, I guess, vertical stripes with a red and then a slightly darker red. That gives a bit of depth to the shirt. But I was never a big fan of the Garmin sponsor. Obviously, I much prefer the rounded Boro badge too. But there's not much else to this shirt. Random white lines going from the collar onto the sleeve just look completely randomly placed. And although the white and the collar and the sleeves look nice, it looks a little bit boring and lifeless. It sums up Boro's I guess, position in that time. Things were just starting to go downhill, and sadly, so were the kits. Next up, we've got 08-09, the return of the band. Now, obviously, this was the shirt we got relegated in, but I don't have that much of a bad dissociation with it. I'll put it mid, again. I think the Garmin sponsor looks better in the band. I'm not too sure what it was doing in terms of how it curved up towards the Boro badge, but again, it works a bit better with them random white pinstripes, the fact that they're linked into the band. At least they're doing something with how the band again goes into the right sleeve as well. So it's an improvement, a slight improvement on the shirt before, but it's still nowhere near the level of quality and how nice the shirts looked a good few seasons before. But of course, yeah, it's an okay shirt. I quite like it, but unfortunately it's one I always remember for Boro, the one that we got relegated in. Next up, we've got 09-10, the first Boro shirt of our time back in the Championship, and I've never liked this shirt. I'm going to put this shirt in the tees. I just don't like it. I don't know what's going on here. Adidas, of course, took over, so they have the vintage Adidas stripes down both shoulders from the neck, and I've always liked that on a Boro shirt, and we'll see a lot of that when Boro returned to Adidas. As we progressed, I guess, with Adidas as the years went by. That's quite a nice characteristic of the Boro shirt. And Adidas actually gave us a very nice spell of kits, but unfortunately, the first one we were relegated in is just not very nice. I don't know what this white band's doing from the collar downwards. I don't know what's going on there, the way it blends into the side and then sort of goes down into a little point at the bottom. Not a clue what that was all about. Same on the left-hand side. And I'm also not a fan of how the Adidas sponsor badge is in the centre, but then the Boro badge isn't. It all just looks very off and mismatchy, like they dropped this shirt into a randomised shirt designer. Not one of my favourites at all. Not nice memories, but also not a very nice shirt. I just don't understand what they were going for, so unfortunately it's the first one going in the old Riverside. Then we have the 10-11 shirt, notorious for the Strachan era, which was a terribly dark time for Boro, but I like this shirt. It's not going to quite go in Mima, but it's one I'll put in my basket. And of course, this was the season where we didn't actually have a sponsor, and I think that helps the shirt somewhat. Obviously, some sponsors look better in it, some didn't, but judging this shirt off of it being without a sponsor, I think it's quite nice. I think the collar, the button collar, is what stands it out. You know, obviously, it still has the stripes on the shoulder, the vintage Adidas quirk, I guess you could call it, but I much prefer the Adidas logo and the Boro logo either side, but the collar is what does this one for me. The white collar stands out so nice, the white buttons as well. It's one of the smartest Boro shirts I think we've had in a long time. So for me, yeah, it all just looks very, very nice. Although not a great time on the pitch, a very good shirt. Now we enter the era of Ramsden's and that disgusting green logo. What were they thinking? You know, when people say a sponsor can ruin a shirt, we're entering that era because the sponsor ruined this shirt. It actually isn't a bad shirt. It isn't a bad shirt. I like that they moved the white band up to the neck and shoulders. I think that's a lovely touch. Of course, something that they've done a little bit similar with the most recent Boro kit, albeit not as far up as this. But I really like that. I think the white band across the top into the sleeves with the red Adidas stripes this time. Lovely touch, but I cannot get over that horrid, disgusting Ramsden's logo. Now, I'm not going to bash Ramsden's too much because in one of my most recent roles I had in my real life job, I actually designed Ramsden's website, so I have an affiliation with Ramsden's as a company, but that just, yeah, not nice. And we did rectify that later on, which you'll see in a couple of future shirts, but I cannot get over how much that sponsor ruins the Boro shirt. So for the sponsor and the sponsor alone, that's going in the Riverside. And it's exactly the same for 12-13. In fact, this is worse. I don't mind that they've returned the band to the centre and the white Adidas stripes, but what's going on? Not only does the Ramsden's logo look horrid, but why is the band so awkwardly shaped with a point at the bottom? And what is this light red pink accent going around the outside? It just looks random and out of place. If you're going to have an accent, make it black or something, or blue, not orangey pink, light red. Don't know. The whole band ruins this shirt for me. The green logo obviously would have it in the Riverside anyway, but this is probably the worst Boro shirt on this list so far. An absolutely awful shirt, and I have no idea what they were thinking with that band. Rewinding back time ever so slightly, this is just the order they were dropped in, or the tier list dropped them in order. 95-96. Now this is a nice shirt. This was the first shirt of the Riverside era. And this goes in my basket. This is a nice shirt. You know, it's not too different from the one we had prior, this little beauty here, with a very nice collar. I think it's a lovely collar. I love the white. I love the little bit of black. I would prefer if there was a bit more black on the shirt, but I guess it's in the centre of the collar and the very edge of the sleeve. So it rounds off them areas of the shirt really nice. Not a fan of the random white line again that seems to appear on Boro shirts from the collar down to the bottom of the sleeve, but everything else really nice. The Cellnet logo's nice again. Some really nice subtle patterns in the background of this shirt, which just give it that little bit of depth. So, yeah, not a perfect shirt, but a very nice one to open the Riverside era, and one I would drop in my basket for sure. And now we're reverting randomly back to the Ramsden's era. Again, don't know why the tier list ordered them in this order, but back to 13-14. It's a mid shirt. It's a mid shirt. I don't mind, again, what they did with the white band, bringing it up to around the Boro badge. A lot of white here, maybe too much white, but at least the Ramsden's logo was reverted to being just a standard white. I mean, if it was green, this would be in the Riverside, undoubtedly. But it's a mid shirt, you know, not too much going on. It's not that special. As I say, a little bit too much white, but at least the Ramsden's logo fits the shirt. It's just okay. 14-15. Now this is in the Mima. This is beautiful. This is, I think, the best alteration to the band ever, because the band's always across the chest, and it mostly always should be. We've seen them obviously move it up and down the shirt. I don't know what they were doing, as we say, in 09-10, when they had some random weavy thing going down, but the only other alternation to the band that I've really liked was what they did in 14-15 by putting it diagonally. I thought it was such a great idea because the Boro badge doesn't have to be altered. It still looks really nice on the white background with the Adidas sponsor either side of it. The Ramsden's logo looks great again, obviously with the white band going across the Ramsden's logo. They had to put a black stroke around it so it didn't blend in and was still visible and looked like it was on top of the white band. But that was a nice subtle touch that I think worked really well. Again, the white around the collar, the white down the shoulders, brilliant little Adidas touches that they always have. But for me, the diagonal band makes this shirt. It looked so smart on, brilliant on the pitch. One of our best Boro shirts, and one I don't own that I really need to collect. Next up, we have 15-16, the shirt that took us back to the Premier League. There she is, the shirt I've worn the most. Not going to lie, I've worn this shirt more than any, and you can probably tell, because last time it was washed, the Ramsden's logo come off. So I am going to have to find myself another version of this shirt and collect a brand new one that I will not wear, because this was a glorious shirt, a beautiful Boro shirt, again associated with success, yes, but it's going in the Mima. I thought the white pinstripes vertically down the shirt was such a nice smart touch. The little pattern, the little circular pattern they had around the collar and the sleeves was lovely as well. And it was a break away from the band. We'd had the band quite a lot of white on the Boro shirts leading up to this, so it was a welcome change. And a shirt I will forever love and be fond of. But I also think it's a very nice designed shirt as well. So, yeah, for me, that's another one that has to go in the Mima. And now into our Premier League shirt, the only one of the last decade, 16-17. A controversial shirt, you'd have to say, because, again, the band dropped very low here. And there was a huge amount of blue on this shirt. But I always kind of liked it. I was always quite fond of this shirt. Now, the red is a very smart red, and I think it makes the shirt stand out. And I don't mind the band. I'm going to say that. Now, it's not in the Mima, but I'll put it in my basket. I thought the blue maybe could have been a little bit thinner, a little bit less out there, same around the collar. But I think it's a smart shirt, and I didn't mind the band going that low. Again, it could blend into the shorts a little bit. It was a little bit different, a little bit innovative. I don't mind it when they try that. So, yeah, I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the Premier League shirt, and obviously it doesn't bring back great memories, but for me, I think it's a pretty nice shirt. Back into the Championship, sadly, and we have been ever since. We've got 17-18. It's mid. It's almost in the tees. I think it's simplistic, and I think for that reason, it's relatively smart. But for me, look at that big band. It is a big old ugly band. It's very big. It's too big. The Ramsden's currency logo was way too thick and the band was way too tall. So although it's simple, it's smart, it's not a shirt trying to do too much, the band's too big for me. And if it was made a little bit slimmer, I think maybe it would be in my basket. Next up, we move to Hummel. In 18-19, we've got this beauty. Now, this is a great shirt. They brought this out in two versions, short sleeve and long sleeved, and I've really always been a fan of this shirt, and I'm going to put it in the Mima. I just love the simplicity of the striped pattern down the centre. A very nice band here, very thin, the 32 red logo, it's just the right shape, width, height to really be a punchy sponsor, and it stands out really well. The badge and the Hummel logo look great. I think a very nice simplistic collar, not much going on there, I liked that. But obviously Hummel have their vintage chevrons going, which I thought was a really nice touch. I just like this shirt. I think the band's what makes it. The 32 red looks really nice. And the pattern, the vertical stripe pattern, is such a lovely little touch. One I wish they'd added to our current shirt. But I've always been a big fan of this one. 1920, this is where things started to go a little bit pear-shaped under Jonathan Woodgate. But I don't mind this shirt. I'm going to put it in mid. Again, doing something different with the white band. And I do respect how they had a larger white band going across so the Hummel logo could fit nicely in. Smart, very smart, so that was in place. Doesn't look too out of place with the Boro badge either, but I'm not a big fan of what went on above it. You know, the slightly thinner bands that didn't quite go fully across because they hit the collar. I don't know, not a big fan of that. The black around the sleeves is also a little bit random because it wasn't around the collar as well. So it's an okay shirt. A few questionable design choices, just not one for me. On to 2021, this bad boy here. Now, this is quite a lively shirt, and I'm going to put it in my basket. I think it's quite nice and different what they were trying to do with this. Again, really going big on the collar. I think maybe a little bit too big. I like what they've done with the initial collar with the red and the black. But then there's this huge black kind of V pattern in the center with a bit of white around it. A little bit too much there for me, but everything else on this shirt I think looks really nice. The band's a bit bigger because for some reason they stuck a set your limits thing under the 32 red sponsor, which does make it maybe a little bit too tall, but everything else apart from that, it still remains a very, very smart Hummel shirt. Just the collar maybe a bit too out there, otherwise it might have been in the meme, but still another pretty decent shirt from Hummel. Then we move on to 2021. This is a mid shirt for me. I don't know why I never really grew to this shirt. The band looks okay. Not much going on with the sleeve, and the collar's all right, pretty standard. They tried doing some nice pattern in behind the Boro shirt with the transporter pattern, and I guess I kind of like that. It's a nice personal touch that Hummel always did really well with the Boro shirts, but yeah, for me, there's just not much else to it. It's a bit boring and lifeless, and I dare say without the transporter pattern in behind it, it might have maybe even been lower. It's just an average Boro shirt with not much I love, not much I hate. 22-23, obviously a Boro shirt that was known to be a very, very good season in the playoffs, but I've never been a fan of this shirt. It's grown on me over time slightly, and I'm happy to own it, a signed version that my friend Johnny from the Boro Breakdown did give me, but it's gone in the Riverside, this shirt. I've never been a fan of it. I think the collar looks really weak and flimsy with the buttons. It's got nothing on the 2010-2011 collar, the buttoned one that we saw earlier. And I don't know what's going on. The badge and the area badge looks way too high. I mean, I don't think it's as bad in real life, but on the initial designs, look where that Boro logo is. It's almost off the shirt. It's miles away from the centre. I don't know what was going on. The band also looks a lot higher up. Everything looks squished towards the top of the shirt. I don't know what it is, but the Unibet sponsors one, I've never liked. I've never liked the Unibet sponsor. It's not wide enough. It's almost too square, and it leaves gaps to the side of it. It just doesn't fit as naturally in the band as 32 Red did, or 888.com, or Ramsden's at times. So, yeah, the Unibet sponsors one that's always had a more negative effect on Boro shirts, but I just didn't like it. I thought it was boring, the collar looked a bit rubbish, everything was too high up, and the Unibet sponsor didn't help either. Back in time now, again, don't get why I ordered it like this, 96-97, now we're going to get into some pretty wacky Boro kits here, because we're going back into the late 90s. This is a decent kit, I think a lot of people will love this one. I'm going to put it in mid. Now, interesting that they put the Boro badge up here somewhere. An interesting choice, but one I'm not a fan of. I respect that they've got Boro going vertically down the shirt, but the Boro text clashes with Cellnet sponsor for me, and I'd much rather they have a pattern or a badge on the red, not actual wording. So I don't quite know what they were doing there, but the collar looks nice. I even don't mind the Boro going along the shoulder, but down the centre of the shirt it looks very random, and I just don't like area being there and the Boro badge being in a different postcode over there. So, yeah, it's not far off being one in the tees, but it's wacky enough. It's 90s. I kind of like it, but there's definitely a few things on this Boro shirt I'm not a big fan of. Jumping slightly into the future, I'm going to get this one out the way. This one's going in the tees. This is an awful shirt. This was absolutely dreadful. I don't know what was going on here. Tried to do something different with the band. I guess you can be a little bit respectful for that, but I don't like the Unibet logo in white, and I don't like the white bands either. They're sort of not too thick, but not too thin. They're just weirdly there. Either side of Unibet, leaving gaps either side. Don't know what was going on there. And I also don't like how the sleeves don't match up with the collar. The collar's white with a bit of blue, but then the sleeves are extremely blue with like a bit of white and red in them. It was just a mismatch of weird stuff, and a shirt I still haven't even been tempted to buy to this day. But yeah, the band and the Unibet sponsor just look so off and out of balance. Yeah, one of our worst shirts and one I don't like at all. And now we have our most recent Boro shirt. One, as you guys know, I've spoke about a lot on the channel, so I'm not going to go into it too much. I have bought it, so I guess that would technically make it in my basket. But I think it's a mid shirt. I'm not going to lie and say it's in my basket, because a lot of the shirts above it I think are very nice. It's a nice shirt. It's growing on me, yes. The band, again, I respect them doing something different with it being in behind the area and Boro badge. And I do like how it's blended into the sleeves. Still not a fan of the Unibet logo. It just looks odd. But the collar, the sleeves, all looks a lot nicer. It's just a standard, nice looking Boro shirt, but not all that special, especially when you compare it to some of the others we've had above it. 97.98. This is quite a nice shirt, this one. I think the Boro Breakdown home shirt was based off of this. It's going in my basket. I like this one. Selnet sponsor, very nice. I like the thick black accent. It really makes the band stand out. Something, again, I wish they'd added to this season's home shirt. Bit of black around the band would never have hurt, but it really matches up and looks very nice with the black around the collar and the sleeve. Love the bit of white too. And I don't mind the centered badges, that's coming back into trend, I feel. But I think when you've got a thin enough band and a thin enough sponsor, you've got room to stack them. Whereas with our away shirt last season, for example, you didn't, and the band ended up being way too low. So I think in this case, it's low enough, it's just okay. And I quite like the vertical badges. It's different to Selnet, very simplistic sponsor. So yeah, it's an okay, pretty decent Boro shirt, and one I might look to buy in the future. 98.99 is an interesting one because they decided to do something different with the band. It's mid. It's okay. Again, they're running with the vertical sponsors, and again, it works well with Selnet, so no complaints there. Another really out there collar and sleeve that I quite like. And I like that they've faded the white bands from the top to the bottom. It wasn't just a straight band. It gives it a more premium feel, but I've just never been a big fan of it. I respect that once it hits the Selnet, it disappears and then reappears. Again, it would have clashed too much with the Selnet badge. So I like what they were doing here, but it's just not a great shirt. It's mid, it's nice, but I can see where they were going with it. 99.2000. Oh, I'm going to chuck this one in the tees. I don't like this shirt. There's too much black for me. Way too much black. It sort of takes over. You don't look at the Boro badge or the Selnet sponsor or the area logo. They get completely lost here. The white and the black, it's way too thick. And I think if you're going to have them bands running along the sleeves and down the shirt, they don't have a big fat black collar either. It's just too much black for me, and it takes over the shirt and offsets the balance, unfortunately. So another idea where I can see where they were going, but yeah, they got this one wrong for me. And an example as to how you can get that right is 2000-2001. Now, it's interesting what they did here, and I kind of like this shirt. I'm going to put it in my basket. This is the right balance of black. I don't know how I feel about the curved black line around the weirdly placed white on the shoulders, but a lovely collar. A beautiful collar on this shirt. The little pinstripe red and black around the outside. Really nice. And the fact you've got the white collar and then the black and red appears from underneath the folded collar. Beautiful. Really, really nice. And it's just enough black, I think, to not take over the shirt. Obviously, there's black above and below the band, which is in two tiers. You've got the Boro badge, which is split from the Selnet logo, but I like how the Selnet logo breaks through that red band. Really nice. So, I don't know how I would feel if that middle band was black. I think maybe it would be too much black, so maybe it's a nice idea going with the red and having black, white, red, white, black. It's a nice balance, but I respect that they've centered the logos once again, but put the Boro badge within the band. I don't think they've ever done that since, so yeah. This is a nice idea, a nice shirt, and I would put it in my basket for sure. Two shirts left. We've got 01, 02. It's mid. It's boring for me. Not much going on. You can see how this evolved into the Dialophone Boro shirts, the one that obviously then went on and won as the Carling Cup. You can see how it evolved into that shirt. You've got very randomly placed white pinstripes, which are trying to make some sort of a band, but they just look a bit tacky and out of place. But other than that, smart red, smart collar, it's okay, I guess. But yeah, the pinstripes just look a bit odd to me. Finally, we've got 02, 03, which is very similar to the Boro kit we, of course, spoke about earlier. And this one I'll put in my basket. I can't bash this shirt too much because it's very similar to the one we literally put in the meme earlier, but they were two very similar shirts, and I actually like the fact that this had less of a pinstripe going along the sleeve, splitting off the shoulder, which I think is a darker red, but love the collar once again, love the simplicity of the dial-a-phone Boro shirts back in the day, another lovely collar. So yeah, it's another pretty nice smart shirt, but doesn't quite have the affiliation that the Carling Cup winning shirt does. So there we go, we've tier listed all 31 Boro shirts. You can see why I couldn't do them all because this has been a fairly long video. But let me know in the comment section below what shirts you'd put where, what shirts are your favourite. I feel like these are very subjective tier lists. People are going to have completely different opinions, and I respect that entirely. So let me know what shirts you'd put where, and I will, for all you Boro fans who I know will be watching, put a link to this tier list in the description of this video so you can go and do this one yourself. And if you do, send it back to me, stick it on Twitter or whatever. You can follow me on Twitter, links in the bio. Send me them, let me know your thoughts. Always interesting though to look back on Boro's home shirts from the past, and we'll be doing exactly the same thing with the away shirts in the next few days, where we'll be tier listing all of Boro's away shirts, and we've had a crazy variety of away shirts, some absolute crackers and some absolute horror shows. So subscribe if you want to see that, and a lot more Boro and Championship themed content to come. Hit the bell so you never miss when a video drops. Leave me a comment below and hit a like to support the channel and the video. But until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. Do take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Up the Boro.